morning.
Good morning.
I was actually going to ask you a question about dartry, because I was going to ask about the teeth, the Eddie Quist teeth, because Rob Bottin made it, didn't he?
Yes, Rob Bottin created all of the makeup roles that I did. The Howling Explorers, where 3 kids go into space with instructions that they receive in their dreams. It was Ethan Hawke's first movie. The movie Legend that Ridley Scott directed, where I play Meg Mucklebones, a female witch, and I shot at Pinewood Studio. And then I guess my swan song to makeup, which was posing for the mold of Johnny Cab in Total Recall. But all of those were because of my friendship with Rob Bottin.
Well, what I was going to ask you was, obviously you kept Eddie's lower jaw. You must have kept them both, the upper and the lower jaw. I
don't know what happened to the rest of the teeth. And also, Eddie had 2 sets of teeth. The teeth I used were for Eddie before he turned into a werewolf. He just had an animal-like set of upper and bottom teeth that were a little too narrow. They were a little disturbing to be human. So I wore those teeth before Eddie transformed into a werewolf. Sorry, for those of you who are not werewolf fans, I'm sorry about how boring this is. But it'll be over in a minute. And I have a great picture of Rob Bottin and me, him putting makeup on me, that you should come to the table and see if you're He's quite a genius, Rob Bottin.
He's one of my idols.
He's extraordinary. The movie John, The Thing, John Carpenter. How could I forget John? I almost said John Carradine. John Carpenter's The Thing is one of the great practical makeup effects movies of all time. If you've never seen it, it's quite amazing. Rob did that movie when he was 22 years old.
Sorry, I haven't actually asked a proper question yet. What I was going to say was, is there anything else specific you kept from your career?
Yeah, I have my Voyager communicator, I think. I have a couple of things. What did I keep from? Not much from the doctor. I used to have the teeth, the dental appliances from all of Rob's movies, from Legend, the witch teeth, I'm fascinated with, they call them Hollywood bite plates, when you make plastic teeth that fit over another app. My guess is, if any of you saw Jeff Bridges in the movie that he just got an Academy Award nomination for, I can't believe I don't remember it. Anyway, he played a Southern sheriff. What? Hell or High Water. Thank you very much, sir. He plays sort of this kind of droll, kind of Southern sheriff type. And I'm quite sure, by the way he looked, that he was wearing, artificial teeth to give him a whole different look and make him sound different. So it's one of those tricks actors have used for years, all the way back to Jerry Lewis and the Nutty Professor. We had, the funny teeth, like that. Okay, I won't do that again, I promise. But I think I woke someone up in the back row. Yes?
Okay, next question is down here. When Tom jumps into the van, did he hurt himself?
Hurt himself? Oh, did
your tip was jump in the van, in the VW?
I don't remember that. I remember driving around. I remember Sarah Silverman was incredibly cute and funny. And I didn't know she was going to turn into such a big star, but I certainly see why. I remember Tuvok looked a lot like Spock looked in the whale movie, Star Trek IV. I remember it was my first time with a hollow emitter, so I was all excited to be out of sickbay. And that's all I remember. So I can't really answer your question. I don't think, Tom, the only time I remember Robbie McNeil or Tom Paris hurt himself was when he had the jetpack on in Captain Proton and he got his ass burned badly. There was a jetpack malfunction and he got a burned bum. That I remember very clearly because we could all smell it.
How hard was it to play your character again in Star Trek Orion after so much time?
How hard was it to play my character on Star Trek Online? That I know the Doctor so well that it was like, I'm sure other actors have said this, when you go back to a character, it's like revisiting an old friend and you haven't missed a beat. you know, or riding a bicycle, however you want to describe it. The moment you read those lines, if the lines are well written, and they were for that, it just all comes back. And I thought it was a nice blend of the Doctor in comedic and dramatic situations. You know, I don't really play the game, because I don't really play the games, but I hear that it's quite successful, and I've been told by the producers that it was popular with the fans when my character came on. So I totally enjoyed doing the recording. We did an awful lot of lines that one day. I had a ball coming back to the Doctor. And you know, Ethan Phillips and I do what we call a play reading called House Call, where we get to play our characters again. So it's something that we do periodically. So I have gotten to revisit the Doctor. I also, you know, at the time I did the experience, the Vegas show, that was after Voyager ended, so I got to, you know, revisit the Doctor then. I did an audiobook of the Hologram's Handbook, so there have been a few times when I got to revisit the character vocally, and it's fun. I mean, it's like sitting down and having lunch with an old friend.
Next question over here. Hi. In the last talk, JG and Aaron both spoke about development of their characters. And probably my favourite episode ever from Voyager was Someone to Watch Over Me. I thought it was an absolutely beautiful episode.
I didn't hear the Someone to Watch Over?
Someone to Watch Over.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any aspects, do you think, of the Doctor's character that you feel could have been explored further, or areas you would have liked to see done more?
First of all, I agree with you. Someone to Watch Over Me is a very sweet episode because it's really, it's quite touching at the end. The ones that stick out in my memory are that one, the real life, the Doctor's holographic family, because that was also poignant. I do love the outright silly Tinker Tenor Doctor spot, where the Doctor, you know, changes his program so he can daydream and then he can't stop dreaming. I love that one. I remember the producer saying, "What would some of the Doctor's daydreams be?" And I said, "Sketching 7 of 9 in the nude." And I said it a little too quickly, like I had already thought of it. I once confessed that to Jerry, that was my idea, and she went, mm-hmm. So I'll be honest with you, I made a number of suggestions to the writers, which Brandon Braga used to do a joking impression of me where he would come out of his office to smoke a cigarette, and I would jump out of the bush and say, "You know, Brandon, I was thinking," because I did kind of corner especially Brandon, but also Joe Manosky and the other writers, and I would make suggestions. And some of them they liked a lot. I mean, one of them, the first time they took one of my suggestions, I remember, was an early, I think season 2, there was a 3-scene runner. A runner is what you call a B plot, where the A story, the main story, is something else, but there's a side plot. Do you remember the one where the Doctor was so convinced that if he were capable of getting sick, it would not impair his job performance? So they give him a holographic cold, and he turns into a terrible patient? That was my idea. I suggested to Jerry Taylor that the Doctor be an opera fan. And at the time she said, "Well, we're doing a lot of Klingon opera stuff, so it's not a good time, but I'll keep it in mind." And then about a year later, I opened up an early draft of a script, and the Doctor is singing opera in the opening scene. And I went back to her and I said, no. I wanted to listen to opera in sickbay. I thought it was funny if they cut to the Doctor working in sickbay, and you hear this huge, passionate aria, because early on, the Doctor had no affect. He never smiled. He showed no emotion, and I just thought it would be funny if you were a fan of listening to this incredibly passionate form of human expression. I thought that was intrinsically funny. So she totally misunderstood me and had me singing, and I went, "No." And she said, "Well, can you sing?" I said, "Well, I can sing, but I'm not an opera singer." And she said, "Well, try it. If you're no good, we'll replace your voice." And that's how I started singing on Voyager. But the best suggestion, as far as how the dividends that it paid me over the years in scene after scene after scene, was the one I made for the Doctor and 7 of 9. When Kes was going to leave the show, we were going to add a new character, I went to Brad and Brock and I said, I'm very concerned because Kes has been the Doctor's sounding board. I mean, ostensibly, the Doctor is teaching her to be a medical assistant, but what's really happening is she was mentoring the Doctor in his growing humanity, right? He was learning, and he was saying things to Kes that he couldn't say to any other member of the crew. And I said, I'm concerned that when Kes leaves, the Doctor will just go back to being a windbag and a joke character because he won't have any other character that he can show a different side of himself. I mean, to a lesser extent, Janeway, he could be a little different with Janeway, but it really was Kes who was his first emotional sounding board. So when I said this to Brandon Braga, he said, well, why don't you think about how you could have a particular relationship with our new character, 7 of 9. And once I saw Jerry Ryan, I thought, well, anybody could think of one way they'd like to relate to Jerry Ryan, but it didn't seem really appropriate for a man of my age. But then I thought about it, and I went back to Brown and I said, okay, how about if we take the mentoring relationship between the Doctor and Kes and flip it, just turn it around. In other words, the Doctor thinks he's a better teacher of how to be human than a human. The Doctor thinks he's the best person on board to teach 7 of 9 how to reclaim her humanity from having been Borg all these years. And that we would do it, and I made the specific suggestion, we would have role-playing exercises where I would teach her a certain aspect of appropriate behavior by setting a little scene, and we would act out the scene. So that suggestion led to 4 years of really wonderful scenes with Jerry Ryan, culminating in Someone to Watch Over Me, where the teacher falls in love with his star pupil. So that was the best suggestion I made, because Jerry, I mean, all joking aside, Jerry is quite extraordinary looking. She's a terrific actress. It was a great character on the show, and frankly, what was great about it for me is she had taken over the Doctor. The Doctor had all of the entitlement stories. What is an individual entitled to? What is an artificial intelligence entitled to? So all of those stories we kind of done the first 3 years, and they were being handed off to 7 of 9 as she was reclaiming her humanity. She kind of took over the Doctor / Data / Odo / Spock storylines that the Doctor had carried for 3 years. You know, what is a sentient artificial intelligence who's not really human but aspires to be human? The outsider character was handed off from the Doctor to 7 pretty much. But the great thing is, my character became connected to all of those stories that 7 of 9 got, because I was now functioning as a mentor. So we had the comedy of the Doctor being so self-important and so arrogant that he thinks he's a better teacher of humanity than a human. But also, I just got to be her sounding board often in those stories. When she had conflict with Janeway, I would be her sounding board. So that ended up being a great suggestion and gave me all those wonderful scenes. When Jerry Ryan first came on the show, by the way, because of the extraordinary way she looks, and I knew I'd be working with her for a while, I was afraid to be caught staring at her. Because in that outfit, it was like she was nude and spray painted. So whenever we worked together, this is a true story, because I've told Jerry this, we'd be side by side and we'd be rehearsing, and then they would pause to do a lighting fix. I would turn my back on her. Because I was afraid to get caught staring at her butt. That was my biggest fear, because I just thought she would turn around and catch me going like this. So I would turn my back on her for weeks, and when I finally confessed this to her, she started to pinch my ass every time she came on the set. she'd go, "Hey there," and grab me and kick my ass. Those were happy times. Next question.
Hello there.
Hello.
You've had the unique privilege of being able to work with one of the finest film directors of all time, Joe Dante, and you've done many, many projects. What I wanted to know is which of the projects you did with Joe was your favourite?
I would have to say the best role. I mean, Joe has been very great to me over the years and given me a variety of things to do, but the cowboy has got to be. Because, frankly, the role was not very specifically written. It had very few lines. And Joe, I've heard Joe joke at his own panels. Whenever, because Joe Dante talks a little like this, you ever met him? Yeah, whenever I don't know how to cast a part, we just give it to Picardo. Because he knows I'll come up with something. But that character, I mean, Joe had first seen me in a Broadway show. I had a second lead to the great Jack Lemmon in my early 20s. And then I recreated the part in Los Angeles the following season. And I think Joe saw it on Broadway, not in Los Angeles. But that's why he called me in to read for The Howling, the first time I worked with him, because I played an angry young man who was very explosive in his scenes with his father. Even though the play was a comedy drama, I was an unhappy kid who thought his father, Jack Lemmon, had been very irresponsible as a parent. So Joe first saw me on stage, cast me in The Howling, which was quite dramatic, but I goofed off in between shots so much that he found out that I was a good comedian, and then he started to use me in comic roles. But the best one, The Howling, Inner Space was so much fun because the character, he was a funny bad guy. And there really was not much there. I looked so extremely different from myself. At the time, I think Muammar Gaddafi in his 20s had been on the cover of Time magazine because he was one of the scariest dictators, I guess, in the world. Now the world's become scarier. And I wanted to look like Muammar Gaddafi, so I had a wig made, and I had very, sort of coffee-colored skin and a gold tooth and all these crazy things that he just took on faith that I wanted to do, and an accent no one could place. I mean, I was listening to Arabic language. I was trying to sound like I had a Farsi accent, but no one could figure out where the character's from. And I got to make up so many of that line. There's a line where Meg Ryan's character, it was Meg Ryan's second movie, and she was so adorable, is basically trying to get information from the cowboy. So he's flirting with her, and I wanted to do the cheesiest pickup line that any woman had ever heard, a line that would make any woman run screaming from the bar. So I say to Meg Ryan, "Women love me, but you know that." Right? Because she's a woman, she would know that. It's pretty cheesy, girls. I have a very funny story from, in the movie, if you've seen Inner Space, I have to play not only my character, but I have to play Martin Short with my features put on his face. So I had to play Martin Short's character pretending to be my character. That was the gag that made it so much fun. In one scene, without any special effects or any cuts, I played both the cowboy unconscious and naked in the bathtub. I think I had little snakeskin bikini briefs on. And the crotch of my briefs matched the tips of my boots. That was my request. I thought, if I'm going to be naked in a movie, I'm going to style. What I had to do is I started out, how did the scene start? Oh, the scene starts with me, supposedly Martin Short. So it's my face and my performance with a blonde wig on. And I'm explaining to Meg Ryan, and I'm pacing as Martin Short with my face. And I pace out of frame for a second. And the real Martin Short, because it's on his back, paces back in. Now he had to wear lifts because I'm about, at the time I was maybe 2.5, 3 inches taller than him. So he's in boots, but you can't see, he paces out, and you see me pace out and him pace back in. Meanwhile, I ran behind the camera, tore my clothes off, ran into the bathroom, jumped in the tub. There was a fake soap dish that came out of the wall, and the hairdresser's arm came in, took the one wig off, put the other wig on, put the soap dish back in. And I was laying, this all happened, guys, in 15 seconds. Run out, tear the clothes off, run in, jump in the tub, change the hair, and then hold my breath as the camera came racing into the bathroom, chasing Meg Ryan, looking at me, and landed right on my face as a cowboy. So I played both parts in one 17-second shot, and when the camera landed on me, my heartbeat was going like this, but I had to hold my breath and look unconscious. That was incredibly hard. Nowadays, you could fake that easily with motion control photography, where you would just do the scene 2 different times and overlap them. But back then, we didn't have that luxury. I had to do both characters. All right, so the reason I told you this story is I had a breakaway costume. I had a cowboy costume that was Velcro, and all you had to do was pull it. And it completely, and then I was naked, except for these little tiny thong-like briefs, right? Yeah, thank you. I do. I bet you're so kind. You're very, very kind. Thank you. I love her. Anyway, so I'm wearing a thong right now. I want you all to know that. Amy asked, I'm wearing a thong.
He's wearing my thong.
This is great. This is how you develop a legend, guys. All you need is a little help. So when I met Meg Ryan, when I did Interspace, I'm in my early 30s. Meg Ryan is this adorable little 27-year-old, and that day, Joe Dante said, "Hey Bob, have you met Meg?" And I went, "Oh, how do you do?" And at that moment, the assistant wardrobe person said, "Hey Joe, we finished the breakaway suit and tore my clothes off." So I'm literally fully clothed, and I go, "Hi, nice to meet you." That's how I met Meg Ryan. That's a cute story, right? And I think it was all a setup. I totally think it was intentional that the wardrobe girl did that to me. Anyway, I've never forgotten it. I blushed down to my butt cheeks. We have time for other questions, or are we done?
Time for
two more questions. 2, possibly 3 questions, depending on how tedious I am in my lengthy answer. How are you? Nice to see you. What's your name?
Charlie,
Charlie, nice to meet you, Charlie. What would you like to know?
are you going to play in Star Trek Discovery?
Discovery. Will I play in Star Trek Discovery? Charlie, only if you write about 100,000 letters requesting it. There's always the chance that they will stunt cast us in the future, but every new Star Trek, of course, likes to define its own identity. So the usual pattern is they don't want anything to do with any of the former people for a season or 2. And then they start getting open to the idea of stunt casting. It certainly happened on Voyager. It happened on all the shows. It happened within, characters like Q that appeared in all of the different Voyager series. So I think it's probably unlikely. I can't imagine I would ever play the Doctor again because, God knows, the Doctor hasn't aged. He still looks 40 years old, so. But I could play Louis Zimmerman. Of course, that would be in the future, or they could cast us as other characters. So the short answer is no. I'm not going to be in Star Trek Discovery. But the great Doug Jones is in it. I love Doug Jones. I've worked with him a couple times, and they're lucky to have him. And they have other great the great actress Michelle Yeoh. So they've got a really great cast, and I can't wait to see it. And I know they're spending a lot of money, but that's all I know.
Okay, last question. Thank you. Could you, as a parting gift to us, sing "You Are My Sunshine" for us, please?
I need a lady. Do I have a lady who knows the lyrics and the melody? All right, come on up, and we'll sing right on the edge of the stage here. You want to just back here, and I'll come sit on the
I
other.
needed somebody to sing it.
There you go.
All right.
I was going to say, 7 of 9, we do actually have it in the audience, but I think she's a little bit shy. Can you see her? Next to the guy with the fro?
I can't, but
7
I've
of
already
9, wave your hand. Just wave your hand. Can you see
wave
her?
your hand.
Can you see her? Here.
Stand up and be recognized. Oh, there you are.
Little
Oh,
shy,
look
little
at
shy.
you. All
So you
right.
have a 7 of 9 just watching you.
All
but
right,
this
well,
one's gonna do-
we'll sing it tomorrow. Okay, here I come.
Oh, you ready?
All right.
If you know the
All right, I'm
words,
gonna
sing
pick the key,
along,
all right?
okay?
Now, the second time through, I'll sing harmony. That won't throw you, right?
Okay.
All right, can I pick the where we start?
Yes.
All right, let me see. You are my All right, we're good. 1, 2, 3.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies
All right, you double-crossed me. You're singing the harmony, all right? Do you want to do the harmony and I'll do You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. One more time. Please don't take my sunshine away. Thank you. All right. Very nice. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Picardos!
Thank you. Sorry we hit a couple of bad notes there. We were trying to climb from the melody to the harmony and back to the melody. You're a wonderful audience. I hope to meet all of you at the autograph table, okay? Thanks. I'll see you later.